Now watch this. When you bounce on Blaze, he romps along like a frisky colt. He gallops when you rock back and forth on him, but he's so safe you just can't tip over. Blaze is the safest, strongest horse made.
Okay, Slippery. This is the end of the line.
Almost got away, Marshal, if it weren't for that lightning fast horse of yours. Where'd you get him?
You can get Mattel's Blaze wherever toys are sold.
And just wait till Dad sees how easy it is to set up. Just pop him out of the box, spread the stand, and tighten just one bolt. That's all there is to it. And see how safe and solidly built Blaze is. You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Barbie, you're beautiful. You make me feel my Barbie doll is really real. Barbie's small and so petite. Her clothes and figure look so neat. Her dancing outfit rings the bell. At parties she will cast a spell. Purses, hats, and gloves galore. And all the gadgets gals adore.
Barbie dressed for swim and fun is only $3. Her lovely fashions range from $1 to $5. Look for Barbie wherever dolls are sold.
Someday I'm gonna be exactly like you. Till then, know just what I'll do. Barbie, beautiful Barbie. I'll make believe that I am you.
You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Gaylord! Gaylord!
Gaylord, you look kind of crazy, move kind of lazy. See what he'll do. Gaylord, when you pull his leash, he'll walkity, walkity, walk with you.
Gaylord the pup is full of tricks. Watch. Back up, Gaylord. Atta boy. Now climb, Gaylord. Up, up. Now fetch your bone. Got it. Good boy, Gaylord.
Gaylord, you look kind of crazy, move kind of lazy. See what he'll do. Gaylord, when you pull his leash, he'll walkity, walkity, walk with you.
Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful toy. He's ideal.
Gaylord, when you pull his leash, he'll walkity, walkity, walk with you.
Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Today we'll be joined by the marketing guru behind Marcus Theaters and Movie Tavern, Bret Hoffmann, talking all things movies for the first part of the show. Later on, we'll have the Bonbons from St. Louis here talking about their upcoming James Bond burlesque show, The Bonbons, and how you can get tickets. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area right now, hearing us on the Big 550 KTRS, thank you for tuning in on this Sunday. If you're watching the stream live on, if I get the cameras right here, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, hello to you. And if you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form on iTunes or wherever you're getting your podcasts from, thank you for finding us and hopefully subscribing there, leaving us a 5-star review. We have a full show tonight, and my next guest is one you're very familiar with because he is with Marcus Theaters, one of the official sponsors of Geek to Me Radio, and he's one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to movies who I know, Mr. Bret Hoffmann. Bret, how are you?
I'm doing great, James.
Good. Lot to talk about because I think last time we had you on, Black Widow hadn't even come out yet. And now I feel like we're almost back to normal with kind of like a summer blockbuster season. It's been a really good time at the movie theaters.
Yeah, most certainly. The big screen is back. We have seen since Memorial Day weekend a steady lineup of good Hollywood films that have been coming out, and people have been coming to the movies to see these films. So a lot of great things to talk about and a lot of great things for people to see at the theaters.
And I know the box office results are in for the 23rd through 25th. Old did better than I thought it was going to do. I think it did about $16.5 million.
Yeah, Old did $16.5 million, and Snake Eyes followed it with $13.3 million this past weekend. A little under expectations of what they thought those films are going to be. I think they had them pegged at about $18 million apiece. And then Black Widow came in 11.6, and then Space Jam also had a pretty deep dive from its first week of release. It had about a 70% dip this weekend, and it brought in about $9.6 million.
And I know, like, we experienced that second weekend drop-off. We saw it hugely. I can think of the most big one I saw was Batman versus Superman took a huge tank on the second weekend. But it's very interesting because I know you might be able to speak to this a little bit. The National Association of Theater Owners has come out, and they're not really happy with, let's say, the current way things are being done.
Well, most certainly we can see with Black Widow and Space Jam, you can look at the numbers. Both of them experienced about a 70% decline going from week 1 and week 2 during those weekends. You know, you can look at the numbers and let them be you can interpret them how you will. My role right now in both my personal life and my professional life is advocating for the big screen, which has always been an important part of going out and seeing a movie. And since my teens, I've been working in the exhibition business. I've been in this business for over 25 years, and I can tell you that I've been consuming movies both at home and both in the theaters over the past year and a half, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes out of curiosity. And not surprisingly, I think anyone would agree with me that there is a special place and a special moment when you're seeing movies on the big screen. There are things you certainly just can't replicate. The big screen, the big cinema sound, the great popcorn, although I've really tried to replicate it at home, and just that escape you get at a theater. So naturally, I believe that the big screen experience is what you want to get to when trying to watch some of these big films. And I think that this is going to shake out. And of course, a lot of people have told us that they think movies would have been dead when VHS came out, when certain pay-per-view on cable came out, when a lot of other things came out. But I think the big screen is alive and well. It's going to keep kicking. And this is just a temporary time where people are trying to shake out and see what's going on, of course, post-pandemic. Obviously, everyone can read the statement that NATO put out and what's been going on with the studios and the exhibitors. I just can tell everyone there's a place in my heart, and think about your favorite movie moments and think about when they took place. And I bet for a lot of everyone out there, it's in a movie theater and not at home.
Yeah, I would have to concur. There's you and I have talked about this before. There's no way, no matter what your sound system or setup or screen, if you have a private screening room in your house, it's never going to recreate and capture that magic, like we've talked about before, when that hammer whips into Captain America's hand on opening night when you're seeing it with like 120 other people at Avengers Endgame. That can't be recreated at home.
Yeah, most certainly not. And if you take a look, we've been talking about this summer. I've watched all these summer blockbusters, some of them at home and but all of them at the theater. And I will tell you, there is definitely a big difference. I know we're going to talk about Black Widow coming up. That movie was definitely an experience that was meant for the big screen. And a lot of these movies are like that way as well. So I'd encourage everyone to go out, support their local theater, check out these movies on the big screen, and I think you'll see that there's definitely a difference and something you may have been missing if you haven't been to the theater in quite some time.
I agree. G.I. Joe, I know this was some people were kind of worried it was going to be an X-Men Origins Wolverine kind of situation where it's got the title, but it kind of does not live up to the expectations of the fans. I've heard very mixed reviews. Some people have loved it. Some people have hated it. And Larry Hama, who is the godfather of G.I. Joe, arguably on his Facebook page said he thinks it's brilliant. Some of the fans have not been as kind, but what were your thoughts on this one?
Well, let me tell you, I think this movie will be more appreciated as more people go to see it. I really enjoyed the movie. even though it did a somewhat disappointing $13.3 million this past weekend when it was supposed to do around 18, I really thought the movie was good. And I think overall, audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes kind of are consistent with my thoughts on this. It's a really good origin story, and it certainly can springboard us into the next reboot of G.I. Joe films.
Yeah.
Henry Golding does a great job as Snake Eyes. I think the problem with Henry Golding is that people really don't perceive him as an action star because for most people, they think of him from Crazy Rich Asians and some of the other drama-type movies that he's been in. But overall, I thought this movie had some great elements to it, including 3 strong female co-stars that really made this picture worth talking about. What the criticisms are, James, here is that there are some elements of the movie that are a bit clunky. There's some plot holes in it, but overall, they were really trying to go for a smarter script than some of the previous G.I. Joe installments. And I think while there were some stumbles, overall, it was a great movie. And my only criticism was there were some fantasy elements here, which I thought were out of place for the movie they put on screen. But maybe for the cartoon or the comics, those would have been very appropriate. For instance, I'm not spoiling anything, but there is a point in the movie where the movie features some giant, almost Harry Potter-like anacondas that just don't seem to have the CGI polish that they need to be believable. But overall, I mean, the movie is definitely terrific, kind of setting us up and going forward. And I actually was very impressed to see kind of towards the end of the movie where they were leading it. My only hope is they could come back together if they are going to do some more G.I. Joe films and bring more of the classic characters back, because I think that was this challenge here. First of all, I don't know how many people were screaming for this Snake Eyes origin story.
Right.
Because, frankly, for me, I always liked the mystique of Snake Eyes and not exactly knowing everything that went on with this character. And I think you got to be very careful with origin stories, because sometimes you may reveal something that contradicts what someone had built up in their heads or thought on their own. And sometimes you're just revealing too much versus it's nice to keep things in the shadows and nice to keep some of those ideas kind of secret from the audience. But overall, I'd recommend to people, go out and see this film. It is definitely a smarter G.I. Joe film. It sets it up really nice. And there's some great performance in here. In particular, Samara Weaving, who's Scarlet, she's perfect. And then there's this woman called Ursula Corbero. She's the Baroness, and she really shines. And you may recognize her if you've been streaming a series called Money Heist on Netflix over the past couple years, actually. She's Tokyo on that Netflix series Money Heist. She's a Spanish star that's breaking out, and she does very well in this particular role. And I hope we see her in some more mainstream domestic films as well, because she's just terrific in this one.
Yeah, and Samara Weaving, I loved her in Ready or Not. That was a film that kind of took me by surprise, which I really enjoyed quite a bit. And I did not know that was her as Scarlet until you pointed it out. So she's very good as well.
Yeah, and that one was a good surprise hit of the past couple of years, as you said. So I think she's got a bright future. I hope she can come back as Scarlet, because to tell you the truth, I thought those two possibly made the picture for me. It just completed the picture. And I actually thought that maybe Paramount made a mistake by not putting more of a foot forward with that story. I understand you've got Henry Golding, you've got Snake Eyes. That's the main point of the picture. But some of the marketing could have featured these two ladies and a few other plot elements that I think might have helped got kind of that mainstream audience into the fold that weren't hardcore G.I. Joe fans.
And then we touched on it in the very beginning when we started talking this hour about Black Widow. And I've told people, I said, Black Widow knocked Ant-Man out of my top 5 favorite Marvel movies now. I was blown away by how good it was. It was a lot of fun. It was a it had elements of Captain America Winter Soldier, that Cold War spy type thing. And for me, it just hit on all the right notes. What were your thoughts?
You know, this was the best movie that I've definitely seen all summer. It's probably the best movie that I've seen in 2021, right behind Cruella, which I really enjoyed.
Yes.
It had exactly what I'm looking for in a Marvel movie in terms of great action and a stellar plot. I think for the mainstream audience, what was going on here, though, is it's really challenging at the time they put out this movie. Because I think for a lot of people, if they would have put this movie out a couple years ago, it would have made more sense to them. I think the other thing that was challenging when you're going for a mainstream audience that's trying to go watch this movie is basically it's Natasha and her family, but there aren't any other Avengers as you might see in some of these other movies.
Right.
So I think people have been getting spoiled with the Avengers, with Captain America Civil War, with the Hulk movies, with all of these with the Thor movies, with all of these different characters either making cameos or being significant parts of the story in those films. But I think, like you, I thought very smart as a standalone film, and the only thing it had going against it was the timing. I could have gone for this. I wish it was almost released after Captain America Civil War so we could just roll right into Infinity War with them being released in continuity.
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought about that, but that's the only thing for me. It was just kind of oddly placed being released in the summer of 2021.
Yeah, I was chatting with somebody else, and they said, well, this is a movie that doesn't need to be made. I said, no, it's a movie that should have been made 5 years ago. It's not that I can see why some people are like, well, we know she's dead. What's the point? But we do get that backstory that she's deserved ever since 2012's Avengers. And the fact that it was done so well, you could literally sit down at home, watch, put in the DVD or the Blu-ray and watch Captain America Civil War, Black Widow, and Avengers Infinity War in that order, and it'd be a perfect trilogy almost.
Oh, most certainly. And as we talked about earlier in the program, this was a movie that was just dynamite to watch on screen.
Yeah.
At least on the big screen in a movie theater. So this was another one where I just enjoyed going in there, immersing myself, having that escape. And even though this was a story that was kind of a middle story, for me, you could watch the standalone. You could watch it as someone that's watched every single Marvel film. And I think it's a testament to Marvel by the fact that pretty much everything they put out, even if they miss, they don't miss by much. This one certainly didn't miss, but it holds true that whether you're watching a Marvel film or whether you're watching one of these series like WandaVision or Loki, you're going to have a great time watching this because they understand characters and they understand how to make something entertaining better than pretty much anyone else in the business.
I agree. And I know it feels like we're in that weird, summer's almost over, but there's still summer left. We've got some movies coming out still. Jungle Cruise, Suicide Squad, Free Guy, Respect, starring Jennifer Hudson, which sounds really good. Paw Patrol, The Protege, Candyman. It's kind of getting into that horror season. What of these movies do you think you would look forward to the most out of this group?
Well, most certainly. I think next week you're going to see Jungle Cruise. It's Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt. I think it's going to be very enjoyable. I think it's going to have legs that takes us through at least through Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings comes out on Labor Day weekend. I think you could see this one be another Jumanji-like franchise with more movies coming out based upon this title of Jungle Cruise. I think with those two in this, you won't be disappointed when you go to the movies. It's scheduled to make about 30 to 35 million. May overperform that next week, but we'll see. But I think that's going to be a very fun movie. The other one I think people should look at is Free Guy. This is getting some great response right now. And Ryan Reynolds looks great in this one. He says this is the most immersed in any character, any production he's been since the original Deadpool.
Oh, wow.
He starts as a bank teller who's suddenly aware that he's part of this open world video game. And there's some great elements here and scenes that remind me a little bit of Ready Player One, which is one of my favorite movies of the past few years. But there's much more comedy in this one, and I think Ryan Reynolds does that very well. So I think this is going to surprise a lot of people and just be a fun movie. That's released on August 13th. So you're going to have Jungle Cruise on the 30th. You're going to have Suicide Squad on August 6th. And then you're going to have Free Guy on August 13th. So these next 3 weeks are going to be absolutely terrific for people to go out and watch films at their local movie theater.
And in just the few minutes we have left, I know if we look a little bit further down the road, you mentioned Shang-Chi coming on September the 3rd, the Dune remake, and I'm assuming it is a remake of the previous Dune, October 22nd, and I can't believe October 22nd is coming up as quickly as it actually is. And finally, Ghostbusters Afterlife on November 12th. What are your thoughts on those?
All right. Well, Dune, the early footage looks absolutely amazing. I think they're doing a great job marketing this picture. I think the only thing we have to look at is that, remember, is this just something that Dune fans are going crazy for, or does this have crossover?
Yeah.
We've seen films that were very cult-like successful in the 1980s not do so well when they were re-released. You can look at Blade Runner from 2049. You can look at Tron Legacy. Well, I thought it was a spectacular picture. It might not have hit Disney's expectations, at least initially, when it came to making money at the box office. But this one looks stellar visually, and if you talk to any Dune fan, they'll tell you that there wouldn't be a Star Wars without Dune.
Right.
And I'm hoping we see something absolutely spectacular here, because they certainly have done their job getting a great pedigree of talent involved in this film. So I think we have something to look forward to there. In terms of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which comes out in November, I'm pumped about this picture. I love the initial footage and the angle that they have here of passing the torch to a younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
They tried it with Ghostbusters in 2016 with an all-female cast. And while I know they tried and they had a lot of great people involved in that, it just did not work. I think it's great that they're taking another shot here to rekindle this passion that all of us had after we see that original 1984 film. So I like the fact that they're taking another shot at this. I think the way they're doing it is appropriate, and I'm really looking forward to that film when it comes out in early November.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one to watch for sure. It's coming out at the perfect time, I think. It's just great to have movies back, because I know, again, that's something I've always lamented throughout the course of the show, is that one of the biggest things I missed during COVID was the ability to go to the movie theaters. And that's one of the things I loved, because you guys, when you open back up safely and smartly. You had the social distancing, masks when you weren't eating or drinking in your seats. You put the extra safety measures and the cleaning, and that's none of that has changed too. People think, oh, well, COVID's becoming more of a problem, less of a problem. You guys are still keeping it at that same level in the theaters.
Well, most certainly, we apply by all local mandates. So you'll find that we basically run our theaters as appropriate for the local mandates that you would find at any other place doing business indoors. But obviously, the cleanliness factor is there. We have new filtration systems for air quality. And basically, what we're trying to do is just make sure people are safe and they're confident when they go back to the movies. But I think anyone that comes to our theaters will feel that they're definitely safe and comfortable in our environment. And definitely, I think we'll be reminded of why you want to watch a movie on the big screen after you see some of these great movies like we just talked about, whether it's Snake Eyes, which I would encourage people to go see, whether it's Black Widow, which you and I agree we thought was one of the best movies of this summer, if not the best movie this summer,
so far,
or anything else that we just talked about.
And before I let you go, too, I got to say we've had a couple people have already talked to me about they've gotten the private theaters from Marcus, and they've loved it. You're able to sit there with 20 of your closest friends and watch one of the movies that you pick out. Those, I would think, just from word of mouth that I've heard, those are going really well for Marcus Theaters, the private theater rentals, correct?
Oh, most certainly. You know, these were very popular early in the year. Now, admittedly, because regular movies are doing so well, we don't have as much inventory for Marcus Private Cinema right now. However, go to marcustheaters.com/private cinema. If you go early, meaning a couple weeks early, you'll be able to see a ton of content there that you'll be able to reserve that private cinema for. Those who have experienced it and those that have reserved these private cinema experiences absolutely love it, and we're finding them doing it over and over again. And let me tell you, it is a great treat for someone. Maybe you want to see The Suicide Squad with just 20 of your friends. Maybe you want to see Free Guy with just a few of your friends and just have a great experience. Or maybe just a special date night or someone anniversary. Go to marcustheaters.com/private cinema. I think you'll find that the prices for renting a private cinema are very affordable, and it's overall just a great experience for people. So if anyone else hasn't checked that out, it is something to do for a special occasion.
And I would also recommend everyone listening download the Marcus Theaters app for your smartphone. That way you can, if you're out and about, you can quickly pull up a location close to where you are. You can get your tickets and concessions through the app, and they'll be ready and waiting for you when you arrive. Tell everybody where they can find you online, Marcus Theaters online, and more information and Twitter and social media handles.
Sure. You can check us out at marcustheaters.com. You can check us out on Facebook. Just go and find Marcus Theaters on Facebook. That's at Marcus Theaters. And it's at Marcus_Theaters on Twitter. Just go check us out there and also download that mobile app. As you said, over the past year, one of the greatest things that we've done with that mobile app is incorporated ordering all your food and beverage on the app to make it just a much easier and convenient experience for going to the movies. People that try it, they love it. So download that mobile app, check us out on our website, and then check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And we'll all have a great time at the movies, because now is just a spectacular time with all the different films that Hollywood's releasing and will until the end of the year. It's going to be an absolutely spectacular run in fall and winter as well.
I cannot wait. Bret Hoffmann, as always, it is a great pleasure to have you on. Thank you for your knowledge and your time tonight. We'll hopefully have you back on again very soon.
Thanks, James. Have a great night.
You too. And again, make sure you download that Marcus Theaters app. That is the best way to make sure you get your tickets, make sure you're going to the right location. The website, marcustheaters.com, of course, will allow you to find the one closest to you and do the same thing if you're online, want to do it that way. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with the Bonbons talking about their upcoming show, so please stand by.
3, 2, 1, fire! Deluxe Man in Space.
Wow, what a toy! Deluxe Man in Space is sold only at food markets.
Yes, Barbie's Dream House. The wonderful new house for Mattel's famous Barbie doll. It's completely furnished with bed, studio couch, TV, and hi-fi. And look, a clothes closet complete with hangers for the Barbie costumes and accessories you buy. And you'll have fun fold them into shape, and there you are. You can arrange the furniture and, of course, rearrange it. A lady's privilege. Barbie's Dream House is a wish come true for both of you. And look, the whole house and everything in it folds up into its own sturdy carrying case. You can take it anywhere. It's perfect for storing Barbie's furniture and costumes. Mother will appreciate that. Look for the genuine Barbie Dream House and furniture, made only by Mattel.
Look who's come to your house to stay. A pal you can play with all day long. She's Patty Playpal, a big doll, big as a 3-year-old, and Patty's real as life. Patty's beautiful hair can be brushed, braided, or put into a ponytail. And Patty Playpal, big as she is light and easy to carry. You can dress her in your own clothes, because Patty Playpal is almost your size. She can wear your pajamas and stay overnight, too. Yes, Patty's a wonderful friend. She's just one of the ideal Playpal family. Starting at $12, there's Johnny Playpal, Susie Playpal, and Penny Playpal, too. Meet Patty and all her Playpal family at your favorite store.
She's a wonderful doll. She's ideal.
From Gilbert Autorama comes the excitement and competition of the famous Indianapolis Speedway, featuring the exclusive new Gilbert Flyover Chicane. Watch the stock cars in slow motion. Up and go. Gilbert makes cars rugged enough to take this kind of punishment. And look at the great assortment of Gilbert cars to choose from. The roughest, toughest, most realistic cars on the road. Past the timer, through the lap counter. Now with stock cars up to the Gilbert Flyover Chicane. Only this time, in midair, the cars change lanes. And look, just like that, your Gilbert car track can become a horse race track with these exclusive lively trotters.
Through 8/29/21, U.S. only.
Hey, this is John Heater. I played Napoleon Dynamite and other unforgettable characters, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio. I guess it's a pretty good station. I've never heard it or anything.
And we're back live on the Big 550 KTRS, celebrating their 25th year on the air. It's amazing. Those of you listening, Geek to Me Radio, we do a live show here in St. Louis all about pop culture. And that covers a lot of ground, pop culture. And, of course, we had the people from the James Bond lexicon on the radio with us. What was that, Joey? About 4 weeks ago, something like that. And James Bond obviously fits in that. It's movies. So in studio with us right now, we have Dixie Denier, and we have Shazza. Is it the last? Shazza Dazzla? Dazzla. Okay, Shazza Dazzla. Okay, all right, now I'm pronouncing it right. So, yes. So we've got both of you here talking about an upcoming James Bond-themed burlesque show. So first of all, talk about the troupe, the Bonbons. Whichever one of you would like to take that, kind of tell us a little bit about the group.
Sure. So the Bonbons, I think this is our 11th year technically. I believe it formed in 2010, and it started under the direction of Lola Vanella, if you're familiar with her. She used to be a really big deal here in St. Louis Burlesque, but she's now moved to New Orleans. But she had a studio, Vanella Studios, and many of the Bonbons went through her studio, went through all the levels, and then we had our debut, and then she has invited each and every one of us personally to join the troupe. But yeah, I believe the troupe, hopefully I'm quoting the correct year on that, formed about 11 years ago. And I would say we've changed a lot since then. I think when the troupe first formed, it was more Lola was looking for good performers, and they would be a part of big shows she would produce. But we, however, probably I would say in the last 5 years, we've really branched out on our own and started producing our own shows outside of Lola. And we've pretty much made the troupe like what we want it to be, and offer a lot of variety with our performers. And we currently have 7 active members, but we've performed in festivals all over the country.
Wow.
We used to have a monthly show at the Monocle when it was...
In the before times.
We had a monthly show, and now we're coming back and, trying to find new venues to perform at. And this upcoming show is kind of our big first show. We did one show in May, but I would definitely say this one is a huge undertaking for us.
Just logistically, as far as planning everything and finding the new space, or is that what big undertaking, or is it just with all the other stuff?
I think all of the elements involved. We're just, some of us are starting fresh with new acts. We're going to debut a lot. There's like going to be almost 100% new debut acts from each performer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And
they are all brand new, yeah.
Yeah, and
Every
it's
single
definitely new for some of us for this new venue. We're exploring the new area where the venue is. We're like trying to play to all of our strengths and the new crowd, and like kind of re-emerging as the Bonbons troupe, this new iteration that we're kind of trying to push and explore. We're just trying to further our crafts and celebrate each other and bring a little bit of more live entertainment back to the St. Louis nightlife.
Yeah.
So before I forget, because I'll end up forgetting by the time we get talking about all these other things, we want to make sure we give out the way people can get tickets if they want to go to the show, which is coming up on August
6th.
August 6th. And
at Red Flag.
Red Flag, okay.
Yeah, that's our venue.
And you can find the tickets at etix.com. You can look for us as the Bonbons STL.com, and you can look for us, the Bonbons, on Facebook, and the events should pop up for us.
We have a Facebook event, and we actually have a link to the show and the tickets on the bonbonsstl.com. So just launched that a few days ago.
Our social media has been pretty robust throughout the whole quarantine stuff. We've really tried to keep ourselves at least a little bit of a presence, social media-wise. Like, hey, we're still here, you guys. Yeah. We're still doing the things, and we've just been crafting along and trying to make the best of it,
Yeah. And we'll put a link to the website in our show notes, too. So if you're listening to this after the fact, if this has already been aired, you can go to the show notes and click on the link. Then I'll have a link to get the tickets for the show there as well. The James Bond theme is what Dixie and I started talking about. She goes, hey, you're a James Bond fan, aren't you? I'm like, yes, I am. So
with a name like James.
Exactly. You kind of have to be. That's my middle name is Bond. So the concept of doing James Bond, obviously, you've done different geek type nerdlesque is what you called it.
Yeah.
So what was the idea? Where would the idea for doing a James Bond theme? Where did that originate?
So it came from me, just my definite deep love of James Bond.
Okay.
Long-term fan. 13 Days of Bond. Watched all 13. So we're through every iteration of Bond. And one thing that struck me is how much diversity there is in the music and the soundtrack and the theme to each Bond villain, each heroine, each hero, each theme. There's just a lot of music to pull from, source material to pull from. And it made me think of, the Bonbons made me think of this troupe that we're so, each one of us brings a different level of diversity, a different angle to whatever we craft and where we create. And so I felt like there's just such a wealth of music to pull from in the Bond world, Bond verse, that we can all find something to illustrate and cabbage onto and create an act from. So that's where the Bond theme came from. It's like, I'm like, we're going to do this.
And she came up with this idea like at least 2 years ago.
Yes, and we just weren't in a place yet to have it come to fruition.
Yeah. It was always there, though. It's like, we got to get to that one day.
Mm-hmm. We just knew that there was just enough that we could all create something from.
So what was, obviously, when I do a show, I've got to have show prep. I got to look into my guests, have an idea of what stuff they've done, things I want to talk about. So I assume it's no different when you're planning a burlesque show. You've got to kind of plan out, okay, here's who we have, here's what we want to cover, here's what we're going to do. So talk a little bit about the planning session. Who ended up with, I want Diamonds Are Forever, or I want, talk a little bit, if you could, about how the planning of this particular show went.
Well, I think it was just the pitch of, hey, here's a concept, here's a wealth of music, dig down, see what speaks to you.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we do most shows. But particularly this one, it was go listen to all the themes, find something you like. And, some people knew right off the back what they wanted to do and what they were leaning towards. And others were, having to feel that out and find what spoke to them more. But luckily, with, 7 people and 20-something plus songs, it worked out very well. I don't think really anyone fought over the same song.
and there because we come at, all of us, our brains work differently, and we always come at source material from whatever we feel about it. Some of us are not coming at it from a true, like, I'm a spy kind of on the nose trope. Some of us are looking at the feel of the piece.
What kind of act is this going to create for me?
And just the timelines, because it goes from the 60s, you get that 70s, the 80s, there's all the styles of clothing and everything. The music changed each time, so that's a really rich playground to be in, I would think.
It really was, and it's just been really great to see how the evolution of these ideas and how people have taken their idea and just ran with it, and
what they're good at too, and how they've been able to work it into the act concept and the music.
So obviously there's the James Bond, there's always the danger, there's the knife throwing, there's the villains are always kind of funny, but there's and you mentioned on your flyer that you sent me there's some simulated gunplay, things like that, just to let people know. So anybody throwing any knives? Is there any kind of juggling of knives or anything fun like that? Can you give anything away?
I literally I have an extensive skill background, and I'm going to throw a little bit of swordplay.
Ooh.
She has a particular set of skills.
I have a particular set of skills, Mr. Bond.
Excellent. So so some of these might be partners too. You'll have 2 or 3 people on stage. It's not each one is a solo act with each person.
No, we definitely, it's not just a show full of solos. We definitely have group numbers. We have, I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, I get it.
But yes.
Through the evolution of the Bonbons, we have really played into that old school vaudevillian, multidisciplinary, multi-aspect of entertainment. So there's going to be elements of comedy. There are going to be elements of theatrics. There's going to be elements of, more emotional aspects of the Bond verse and how we're going to portray it and how we're going to pay homage to those kinds of themes.
I think we're hitting on just about everything you can from a James Bond movie.
This troupe is so talented with everything that they can pull from, all the skills. We've got skilled aerialists, we've got skill act performers, singers, dancers, accomplished actresses, dancers. So it's going to be it's got depth.
Yeah. We just came from a rehearsal tonight, and I think we all, at the end of it, were like, this is going to be really good.
It's going to be something.
It gets to a point that in the rehearsal where you're like, this either ain't coming together or it is. And we were like, no, we're feeling good about this. This is going to be a fantastic show.
It was a big click for tonight. I really came away with a big click.
Absolutely.
And my executive producer, Joey V, and I were talking about James Bond before, and he mentioned that he just saw Goldfinger with his grandfather, and there's that the tongue-in-cheek kind of spoof that you kind of get from those old ones, and then straight into like almost straight-up humor with Roger Moore. And then now we were talking about how it's very dark and gritty with Daniel Craig. So I'm assuming the acts will reflect a little bit of that feeling of the different eras of the movies too. Yeah,
I think so.
I think so too. It's going to be each performer and how they highlight how they came into their element of the Bondverse, how they came and arrived to their creative point.
And to add to that, it will be a bit of surprise even among the group because we haven't seen each other's acts or solos. Like we only know like the group stuff, but as far as our solos, we're all going to be
in the dark.
We're in store for surprises with each other.
For you guys, though.
It is.
Really
it's like I mean, no one is to be like a proud mom, but it is a moment of pride when you look at your fellow troop members and you're like, look at what they're doing right now. This is incredible. And I love them even more.
One of the big things that we love is about celebrating each other.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess, it's a very freeing thing to do what you do to begin with, but then have all this fun with it, doing the different nerdlesque type of themes that you guys do, incorporating that. It's just got to be. I don't want to call it a hobby because it's a profession, but is it really like work?
I mean,
sometimes
it's. Can we talk about how many hours, hours and hours of costume construction and
we're not getting paid for all the costume work and choreography behind and rehearsals, but I mean, yes, we are being paid to perform, but. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I won't lie, it does feel like work, but then when, that show comes together and once you perform, you're like, it was all worth it.
And then we watch each other perform and we see each other being our craft. We just get, I know it's an elation for me to watch these beautiful humans just do whatever they're doing as hard as they can. It makes my heart happy. Makes my nerd heart happy.
Very cool. And we're going to talk some more. We'll get into some details. If you have a question for the Bonbons, you can shoot us a text on the KTRS text line 84126. We're going to take this next commercial break. We'll come right back chatting more about all things Bond with the Bonbons. Stand by.
Up antenna, switch on, press talk button, and you broadcast from room to room and even house to house. No wires needed, yet voices travel back and forth. Radio on the open road from one bike to another, or when out hiking.
Dad, I found a bear's cave.
Be right down, son.
The powerful, fully transistorized Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio is a real electronic instrument.
Make sure all the fellows get their A-OK Dick Tracy wrist radio so they can keep in touch. Over and out.
The one and only Dick Tracy wrist radio, wherever American toys are sold.
Into the deepest jungles went Pressman toy makers looking for something new. The secret they brought back for you is incredible. The Pressman Witch Doctor Head Shrinkers Kit. Plastic flesh, mixing cauldron, and petrifying potion. Just pour it into the mold, and in minutes you can add monster hair. Paint it with a coloring kit included, or make up your own decorations. In 24 hours, the heads shrink down. Now, shrunken heads for all occasions. Collect them, swap them, give them to your Witch Doctor friends. You can always cook up more with Pressman's Witch Doctor Head Shrinkers Kit.
Everyone knows that beautiful hair makes a girl look beautiful. Beautiful Chrissy has beautiful hair that grows. This is beautiful Chrissy, the doll with beautiful hair that grows right down to her toes. Turn the knob and her hair is shorter. Press her tummy and you can make her hair grow and grow and grow right down to her toes. You'll love to brush it and brush it.
He has beautiful hair. She has beautiful eyes. He has beautiful clothes.
Beautiful Chrissy comes in this beautiful dress. But you can get all these other beautiful clothes for her, too, and style her hair to go with them. Beautiful Chrissy has beautiful hair that grows. Beautiful Chrissy. She's ideal.
Look, Ramco Coney Island penny machine.
6394-2992 for more information or visit GambrilGardens.com.
Hi, this is Leslie Ann Brunt. I play Mazikeen on Lucifer, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
All right, ladies, let's give it a shake, shall we? It's always shaken, not stirred in Bond movies. So, pour. And just if the FCC is watching, or anyone from KTRS, it is just water for me. So that's all I'm having. But kind of, it's the aesthetic of it all.
Yes, cheers in my poor man fake martini glass. Because my martini glass broke.
Oh, no. That's all right. You got real olives, which I didn't want to put olives
Yes.
in water because I thought green olives in water kind of sounds horrible. So
we
I
do have real olives at least.
Real olives.
So we were talking, obviously, if you're just now tuning in, we've got the Bonbons in studio, and we're talking about their upcoming show, James Bond themed show, the Bonbons, and we'll have the tickets link in our show notes. But we're going to talk a little bit about some James Bond trivia, just some very light things, just kind of see, because you guys said you've been studying, so I kind of want to see, and I'll just pose a question to each one of you. If the other one knows the answer, feel free to be the other's lifeline. So we'll start. Can you name 3 films that Sean Connery played 007 in?
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
Go.
A Sean Connery film?
Sean Connery films where he played James Bond, yes.
Yeah. Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger.
The first 3, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about Goldfinger,
Mm-hmm.
Shirley Bassey did the theme song for Goldfinger. She did 2 other James Bond theme songs. Do you know which movie she did the theme songs for?
You do. Well, yes, I do. But you want to answer? You know it. Oh, she Diamonds Are Forever and Moonraker.
That is correct. The only person to sing 3 Bond songs.
Yeah.
She holds the record for that.
We just talked about that, but I'm like,
So let's do it. Let's do a lightning round. I'm going to say the movie, and you tell me which actor played Bond in that movie. We'll give that a shot.
Yipes, the pressure.
I can probably do this one.
Okay. So let's start. The Living Daylights.
Timothy Dalton.
That's correct.
Is this for
about-
either of us?
Either one of you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
You want to jump
You
in?
got
Like,
this,
like if
Shazza,
you
you
know,
got
I'd be
it.
like,
Listen,
this is
I
mine.
told you, recall.
All right. How about The Man with the Golden Gun?
Is that Roger Moore?
It is Roger Moore.
Yes.
Very good. How about Live and Let Die?
It's also Timothy Dalton, isn't it?
Mm,
No, it's that guy.
it's Roger Moore.
Is also Roger Moore.
I watched it this morning.
With a great theme song by Paul McCartney and the Wings on that one. I love. That's one of my favorites. Casino Royale.
Daniel Craig.
That's correct. How about License to Kill?
Timothy Dalton.
That's correct. On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Is that Roger Moore?
George Lazenby.
Lazenby, yes, that's
Lazenby.
right,
I was like, is that-
George Lazenby.
is that-
Yeah, the one.
one
Only his
guy.
one movie. Yep,
The
George
one-off,
Lazenby.
the Australian male model that they haven't found to replace Sean Connery. And then this one was a little bit of a tricky one. Never Say Never Again.
Sean Connery.
That's correct.
Yes.
And that is a remake of which Bond movie?
Oh. You Only Live Twice?
Thunderball.
Oh.
It's basically they remade it. Warner Brothers had that one, so it's not officially part of the Bond canon.
I was so confused when I was doing my research of Bond movies, and I saw that, and I had no idea that he came back and did this in the early 80s, was it?
Yeah, 83. It came out the same year as Octopussy. So
Yeah.
we had 2 Bond movies from 2 separate Bonds in the theaters at the same
That's
time.
so
Oh, that
odd
one
to
got
me.
overshadowed. Then
bit.
that's not even my realm. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Wait,
I had
what?
no idea until I
Hidden
researched
Bond.
this.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And then there was the 1967 film Casino Royale, which was a spoof. Can you name 3 of the actors who played James Bond in that? And I say James Bond because all of them more or less were James Bond. 3 of the actors from the movie, basically. 1967.
Yeah. Was Jerry Lewis one of them?
No, not Jerry Lewis.
Okay.
Would have been the
but
same era. That's the correct time frame, though. Yeah.
Why was I thinking Jerry Lewis?
Woody Allen? You may have been thinking Woody Allen.
I see. I watched a thing recently where they talked about this, and I'm trying to remember the actors in it now, but now I don't remember who was in it.
It was also Peter Sellers.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
who.
David Niven. Ursula Andress, who was the Bond girl from Dr. No, also played James Bond in the movie because everybody was James Bond.
Everyone's
to confuse
James
the
Bond.
bad guy.
Yeah.
And Orson Welles was the bad guy.
That's right.
So it had a really, really cool cast, but the movie was kind of all over the place. It was really bizarre. But if you get to see it, it's a fun movie to watch.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
I will.
So what did you learn about James Bond? We'll start with Shazza. What was the biggest thing you learned about James Bond while you were doing your research for the show?
The biggest thing I learned about James Bond.
Something new that you didn't know before that impressed you.
New that I didn't know
You knew it all before.
I mean, obviously, I knew every one of
13 days
those
of Bond.
questions.
Yeah, that
With
13
my-
days of Bond.
Yeah. Yes. No.
No. Nothing
Nothing
struck out.
that sticks out. Nothing that sticks out.
That sticks out.
Mm.
Dixie?
I feel like I might have to censor myself. James Bond gets around a lot.
That's true.
He,
As someone that's just visiting the movies, yeah, he does get around
he
like, quite a lot.
He, as
It
someone
gets-
who's like basically like a spy and always going after bad guys, he manages to
make a lot of time.
make a lot of time for the
Like-
ladies.
Like free time. Down
I'm like,
time, as it
wow,
were.
James, how do you have energy still?
Yeah.
Like,
It's very interesting how you have time to be a spy and save the world when you're doing everything
yeah,
else. the
basically you're
extracurriculars.
Hugh Hefner as
Yeah.
a spy.
That's right.
So
So we're talking about Nerdlesque, and obviously you guys have done a lot of other stuff besides just James Bond. But you guys are nerds. You guys love the fandom. So
Definitely.
have you guys ever done? Is there like a Doctor Who idea that you might have thought about, or another
Aliens, Star Wars.
Star
Lots-
Wars?
Yeah.
aliens, pop culture.
A lot of pop culture
for
stuff.
me.
We
yeah.
keep trying to get together and do an Aliens duet.
Yes, we have a concept. Well, she does an alien queen act.
Okay.
The queen. And
Yes.
I actually have a Ripley cosplay. And I keep saying, one of these days I'm going to do it as a Nerdlesque act. And then we want to combine
the
forces.
forces with aliens.
Yes.
It'd be hard to work the power loader into that though, if you're going to be able to come out.
You know, sometimes if you can dream it and someone can build it, maybe.
I am the queen of craft foam and garbage.
She really is.
Really?
Yeah, she can make just about anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the costume that you're the most proud of one you've done in the past, whatever nerd themed
It
show
probably
was?
is the alien.
Is
Queen.
it really?
It
Okay.
really is the alien queen because I really leaned into not only the theme and the feel of the character itself, the alien herself, but the inspiration art behind the aliens film. So I'm a very big H.R. Giger fan.
Mhm.
So that was mostly my inspiration for the direction that I took the costuming. So it's not a literal interpretation
Okay.
of the queen. She's more of a dominatrix feel, very industrial. The costumes, it like Giger's work, there's a lot of tubes involved.
Okay.
Tubes and wires and
Tubes and wires, they're your best friend in Nerdlesque.
and Nerdlesque, craft foam for days. And, the elements that I pulled to make the costume were definitely not things you would think of to turn into a sexy alien costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think of the aliens from that movie, I don't really think of anything sexy. So that would be I'd like to see how that all came together. That'd be very interesting to see.
Well, sexy means a lot of things to a lot of people.
That's true.
That's true.
I mean, I was going to say, like, sexy and Nerdlesque, that can take on many different ways.
It's all about perspective.
Yes. And what about like Pokemon's huge, especially like the Pokemon trading cards? People are like buying those on eBay for like $30,000. It's almost making a resurgence.
Mhm.
Pokemon Go. I would think the different Pokemon would lend themselves very nicely to costumes and stuff like that. And there's all sorts of ways to play with that.
There was a performer
Was there?
that like a whole Pokemon show was done
Yes,
a
there
few
was
years,
whole-
a
yeah,
couple
the
years
whole
ago. The whole show was
the
themed.
whole show was Pokemon themed.
I mean, if it can pretty much, I wanted to say, if it can work at a con, it can be a Nerdlesque act or show.
Yeah, because I started life as a cosplayer, so that and really leaning into more the costume construction because that's what my brain likes. So that's how I arrived, and I kind of blended the two things together. And I think it started with the Queen, but I've done entire performances as Rick Sanchez. So
Really?
So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, entire performances as Rick Sanchez. Me playing Rick, playing a burlesquer, that makes sense. There are a lot of dimensions. It's fine.
It sounds like it.
That was for Shimmy Showdown, wasn't
It was Shimmy Showdown.
Yeah, and I won the Shimmy Showdown basically being Sophia from the Golden Girls.
Really?
Yeah.
So
doing Nerdlesque
Yes.
actually apparently pays off in
Yeah.
competition time.
So that we've done that show is, I've done it as Rick Sanchez, Louise Belcher, and then I was Strong Bad. From
Oh,
Homestar Runner.
nice. Oh,
So imagine doing burlesque and boxing gloves. That happened.
I was just quoting Strong Bad the other day.
It's
a great-
part of my lexicon.
So let's go over real quick. We've got about 5 minutes left, or 4 minutes. Top 5 favorite geek nerdlesque things you'd like to do but haven't done yet. We'll start with Dixie.
Oh, well, Ripley's one. I have a concept for Doctor Strange.
Okay.
That I maybe one day. Oh God, this is hard. You talk while I think more.
Okay, so I got a lot kicking around. So I really want to do a real live Rick Sanchez as doing actual chemistry on stage.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
a
That'd be
science
fun.
nerd.
Yeah.
And my older sister is a chemistry teacher at Western Kentucky University. And rather than a fire safety, I'm going to have a chemistry safety. So when you text your sister going like, I need instantaneous, explosive, but safe reactions that coordinate with music, help me. And she's like, I got you. So eventually, I'll bring a real chemistry Rick Sanchez. I want to do a Goku act.
Okay, yeah.
With flow elements like Glowpoi as my Dragon Balls, so Goku. And then I want to do a Spider-Man, the Miles Morales Spider-Man, but we use like rope dart. So that's another flow element. Yeah. And then I think the last one that I was thinking of kicking around was, I'm a big monster. I like to do monsters, classic monsters, and I have I'm the Wampa. I do a Wampa act from Star Wars. So I may try to do a Rancor.
Ooh,
that'd be fun.
Right. I love long claws. And
all about the Star Wars.
Gritty monsters.
I was thinking monsters like I Have a Bride of Frankenstein act. I was thinking like old classic monsters.
Yeah, classic monsters.
Classic movie monsters, man. That's
yeah.
Itself.
I have a Bride of Frankenstein act that I pull out at Halloween.
We should just do a thing.
We should.
Really quick, we've got just a couple of minutes left here. Tell people if they want to keep up with the troupe. I know you guys have social media and everything like that, where they can find the troupe, and if they want to follow you guys online. And let's repeat the website again. We'll start with Shazza.
All across all the platforms, we are the Bon Bons Burlesque STL. So across all Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, website, tweet at us, get at us, leave us comments, come see our shows, throw money at us.
Send us messages. We'll respond.
Yep.
We love when people are interested in hiring us and booking us at their venue.
Ask us about burlesque. We'd love to talk about it.
Perfect. That's great. No, I appreciate both of you coming in. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
For those of you listening, again, we'll have the link in the show notes for tickets. It's August 6th is the date, correct?
Yep.
Yes,
August 6th, so you can see that here in St. Louis at the Red Flag. We will have information on that. Before we get out of here, I need to make sure I tell you about our official sponsor, the one who's been with us since the beginning, the City of St. Charles, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. If you're from the Greater St. Louis, St. Charles area and have not made the trip to St. Charles yet, I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot to see, a lot to do. If you're a history fan, you can go look at all the placards with all the George Washington slept here and Lewis and Clark drank here and all those kind of fun things. The food along Main Street alone, you could literally get cocktails at Tompkins House, go across the street for barbecue at Salt and Smoke, and then end up with a gooey butter milkshake down the street at Little O's. There's something for everyone. The unique shopping experience that we've always talked about. If you're a Whovian, the English shop has Doctor Who stuff right there. You can get your Jelly Babies and Jammy Dodgers from them as well. There is something for everyone in the City of St. Charles, so I recommend you check out the website, which is, again, discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. And if you're from out of town, a lot of stuff to look forward to. The Festival of the Little Hills is coming up here in just a few weeks. There's Legends and Lanterns. If you're a Halloween fan, that's something you have to come to town to experience and check that out with all the living history characters you can interact with. It's family friendly. It's fun for everybody. I think merry, not scary. And then, of course, the longest running Christmas festival in the country goes on right after Thanksgiving through the day before Christmas. Christmas traditions, and literally, I'm not even kidding when I say people come from around the world to this festival. There's something for everybody. Check out the website at discoverstcharles.com for more information and to plan your trip now. As we always say, it's an historically good time. Thanks once again to my guests, Bret Hoffmann from Marcus Theaters, and of course, thanks to Dixie and Shazza of the Bon Bons for being in the studio. Until next week, Mike.
Try zombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young art. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Hidden Volcano Secret Lair. Good night.
The Big